You know the feeling. It's 2 in the morning, you are completely exhausted. But for some reason, your brain decides now is the perfect time to replay every single awkward conversation you've ever had. Or, maybe host a film festival of future worst-case scenarios. If you've ever laid in bed wide awake while your mind just runs a marathon, you know exactly how frustrating that is. Well, it turns out there's a real science to why this happens, and more importantly, a science to making it stop. So, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll define what this midnight mind race actually is. Then, we'll get into the 2 main types of thoughts that are keeping us all awake. After that, we'll look at how all this stress physically impacts your body. And finally, we're getting to the good stuff, a really powerful technique to take back control, and a whole toolkit of other strategies to help you finally get some sleep. All right, let's start by putting a name to this thing, because it's an all too common experience. What is actually going on up there when our brains just refuse to power down for the night? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, the simplest answer is that during the day, our minds are just busy. We're working, we're running errands, we're doom scrolling on our phones. But when the lights go out, all those distractions just vanish. And suddenly, we're left alone with our thoughts. And that is when the floodgates can just burst open. And listen, if this feels familiar to you, you are so far from alone. One study found that a staggering 80% of people with insomnia report this exact same feeling. So the big takeaway here is that this isn't some kind of personal failing on your part. It's a core feature of sleep problems that affects millions and millions of people. So there's a scientific term for this state. It's called cognitive arousal. And it's not about being physically restless or tossing and turning. It's about your mind being in a state of high alert, of wakefulness, right when it's supposed to be powering down. It's basically the biological enemy of sleep. Okay, so we have a name for it, cognitive arousal. But what kind of thoughts are actually causing all this trouble? Well, it turns out not all racing thoughts are created equal. Let's dig a little deeper and really get to know the 2 main culprits. On one side, you've got worry. This is all about the future. It's the, what if I bomb that presentation tomorrow? Or what if I can't pay that bill? On the other side, you have rumination. This one is stuck in the past. It's the, why did I say that one stupid thing in the meeting? Or I just can't believe that happened to me. They feel kind of similar, but that focus on time, future versus past, is a really critical difference. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. We all talk about worrying at night, but a ton of research actually suggests that it's rumination, that chewing over past events, that is an even more powerful sleep disruptor. See, people who ruminate a lot tend to have worse sleep quality, and get this, they spend more time awake after they've already fallen asleep. So these thought patterns are clearly a nightmare for getting good sleep. But the impact doesn't stop there. This mental hamster wheel has real, measurable effects on your body's chemistry. Scientists actually have a name for this connection, the perservative cognition hypothesis. I know, it's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea is actually pretty simple. When you keep replaying stressful thoughts, whether it's ruminating about the past or worrying about the future, you are basically forcing your body to stay in a state of high alert. You're not letting that stress response ever end. And I really want to emphasize this point. This is not just some unpleasant mental experience. The act of ruminating keeps your body's stress machinery fired up long after the actual stressful event is over. And we can actually see the proof right in our hormones. And this slide just shows it perfectly. A study looked at cortisol, which is our main stress hormone. Now, after a high-stress day, your cortisol is a little higher the next morning. Okay, that makes sense. But check out what happens on a high-stress day where you also spend a lot of time ruminating. Your cortisol levels the next morning are significantly higher. You are literally at a hormonal level carrying yesterday's stress into today. All right, that's the problem. It's real, it's physical, and frankly, it's exhausting. But here is the good news. There is a powerful, science-backed way to fight back. And it's probably not what you're thinking. You know, the classic mistake that we all make is trying to force ourselves to just stop thinking. But that's like telling someone not to think about a pink elephant. It just makes you think about it even more. The real goal isn't to create some sort of blank slate in your mind. It's to intentionally change the mental channel to something way more productive for sleep. This technique is called cognitive refocusing treatment for insomnia, or CRTI for short. It's an evidence-based approach where you actively and deliberately shift your focus away from those stressful, emotionally charged thoughts, and instead you put it onto a mental task that's engaging enough to hold your attention, but not so exciting that it keeps you awake. So how do you actually do it? Okay, first, before you even get into bed, pick your topic. It could be anything. mentally redecorating a room in your house, planning a dream vacation in super vivid detail, or even just trying to name every single character from your favorite TV show. Then, when you get into bed, you just start the task. Really focus on the little details. What color are the flowers in that garden? What does the tile in the museum look like? And when, and I say when, not if, your mind wanders back to a worry, just gently notice it and guide your attention right back to your task. It's like a mental muscle that you build over time. Cognitive refocusing is an absolute game changer. But it's not the only tool you've got. Let's round out our approach with a few more science-backed habits that you can build right into your routine. Okay, think of this as your sleep hygiene checklist. You could try a worry journal, just spend 10 minutes in the evening writing down everything on your mind to get it out before you hit the pillow. Practice meditation to train that focus muscle we were just talking about. And of course, the basics are crucial too. Cut the screen time an hour before bed, try to stick to a consistent sleep schedule, and make sure your bedroom is a sanctuary for sleep. Dark, quiet, and cool. So if there's one thing to remember from all of this, it's that you are not just a victim of your thoughts at night. The goal isn't to somehow force your mind into total silence. The real power comes from learning the skill of gently guiding your attention exactly where you want it to go. It's a skill, and just like any other skill, it takes some practice. So tonight, instead of fighting with your thoughts, have a plan to guide them. That garden, that museum tour, that vacation, what will you choose to refocus your mind on?